Welcome back to the Steve Champagne Radio Show. Welcome back, Van Halen fans, Alex Van Halen fans, and everybody who's interested to find out about this book, Brothers, and what's inside it, what I think about it, what Alex said, and the whole 9 yards, especially if you're a big Van Halen fan like I am. Excited to do this video. It's a long time coming, really, but the book's pretty big, so it's kind of intense here. I've got some notes that I wrote down, some points that I want to make about the book here, because I'm going to get right into it for you I Love Music Army people out there. And for those people that are not in the I Love Music Army, well, you love music, right? Well, join, subscribe to the channel where we talk about everything here, music and entertainment. But we've got a lot of Alex Van Halen coming up. So if you're a Van Halen fan, you definitely want to get involved with that. But let's get to the book here. Some interesting points that he said in chapter 1. Now, this is just chapter 1. This is not the entire review of the book. So we're doing this chapter by chapter. First, said mom was kind of wealthy due to their family investing in the railroad way back, you know, when he was like a little wee lad, a little baby here. And mom wanted them to be a concert pianist. Dad never really pushed them, though he was a professional musician, to be a musician. Anyways, he made some comments about the war, meaning that he said his dad said a few things about the war, talking about when the bombs were falling in London, that people went to the basement not to pray, but to party. I can believe that. Live your last day, that, or at least what you think is your last day, like there's no tomorrow. He also said that one of his aunts was, married to a guy who was an executive at Coca-Cola. A lot of the kids got free Cokes and stuff like that, and their kids all had rotten teeth at a very young age, him and Ed. And he very clearly said it's not Eddie, it's Ed or Edward, no Eddie Van Halen. I will do my best, even though I've been calling him Eddie Van Halen all my life, to never use that again, because that is not his name and not what he wanted to be called. They never saw a dentist till they were 16 years old. He said their mom had a sister who lived in Los Angeles, and they wanted to go there. And he said, the land, as they called it, the land of immigrants. And it said, how can anyone be racist in a country like that? 1962 was when they took the boat ride to come over to America. I wasn't born yet. I was born in 63. They said it was a 2-week boat ride. He met a little girl on the boat who he was, enthralled with, but he couldn't win her heart. And when she went her way and he went his, well, that was kind of devastating for him. That's something that he said. Then he had to take a train from New York to L.A. because the boat went to New York. And they talked about trying to get off at all these places in Chicago, but they ended up, getting to L.A. And when they finally got there, he said it was like the Wizard of Oz, from Dorothy going from Kansas to Oz. He goes, that's how incredible it was, because before it was all poverty, it was cold, it was freezing, it was not nice stuff, and then boom, the L.A., Southern California, bright lights, palm trees, and they picked them up. Uncle picked him up in a convertible, which him and Ed said that was it. This is it. They said they had these big coats on because it was so cold the whole time. Now they got the L.A., boom, bright lights, big city, warm weather, and oranges were a penny, from what I understand here. He said they used to watch cartoons all day when parents were working. Felix the Cat. I remember watching Felix the Cat. Does anybody remember watching Felix the Cat? Yeah, Felix the Cat, the wonderful, wonderful cat. Anyways, his dad got arrested soon after they got to L.A. He was apparently rolling his own cigarettes, couldn't speak any English. The officer who stopped the people with the car, asked him if it was marijuana, and he nodded his head, so they arrested him. They didn't really know how that all worked out, but he spent 15 days in jail because they couldn't figure out how to bail him out. They knew what to do, in the other country, in Holland, but they did not know how to handle it in America. Well, anyway, he spent 15 days in jail. They didn't speak much English when they went into school and how they fit in was with music. Now, I can relate to that because let me say this. I was very close to the same age when I moved, when my parents moved from Baltimore, Maryland to Georgia. And there was a difference between in the city of Baltimore to the country of Georgia. And what I mean by the country of Georgia, I mean the country life, redneck life. It was a big eye-opening experience. I didn't know the way I talked. I had the northern accent. All the kids were all southern drawl and talking like this and all. And here I am, with this slang from up north. And how I fit in, how it did fit in was with music. The stuff that I actually learned that helped me fit in school. They said they were both athletic, and here's another common thing that me and Alex have in common. I wasn't athletic, but they were in track and field. He said Ed was a 50-yard dash guy, and he was the 1 mile long distance guy, and that was me. I loved the 50-yard dash, but I wasn't very good at it. I was the long distance guy. I was better at long distance, so me and Al both have something in common there. Again, me and Al have something in common. He said he played drums on empty Baskin-Robbins containers. I did that too. Absolutely I did. With McDonald's straws and all that stuff back then. They won a talent contest 3 years in a row in elementary school. Wow. Fancy that. I won one talent contest in elementary school, not three. His mom was real proud of him, still wanted to be the pianist, wanted to take lessons. And it's just the same for me in one way. My mom wouldn't help me or do anything to get me a set of drums, which is what I really wanted to play, until I took at least 1 year of piano. And I had to take that year in piano. And I am so glad that I did that. Thank you, Mom, so much. And obviously thank Van Halen's mom for giving them the piano lessons. Alex said even though he took lessons for 5 years, he could never read music. He fooled the teacher, always, trying to, pretend that he could read, but he couldn't until one day the teacher asked him to turn the page when he was playing a piece, and Alex didn't know where he was because he couldn't read music, so he couldn't turn the page. And that's when the teacher found out that Al, for 5 years, never was able to read music. I wonder why the dad didn't teach him, because obviously he could play, and he was a very accomplished musician and knew how to play the piano very well. One of the things that his dad told him, and this is also a lesson that everybody knows but forgets. Are you ready for this? Him and Ed distinctly remember their dad saying, and I want to get this quote right here, show people what you can do, not what you can't do. So stick with what you're good at. There's a lot of people out there that aren't good at singing certain songs, but they try to sing them anyways, and they don't sound very good. And people like them because they think they can, they sing other songs very good, so therefore they like them because of those songs, and they don't have the courage to tell them, hey, look, you shouldn't do this other stuff. But, stick with what you can do. And that's what I've always tried to do. Never tried to, I practice and try to learn other stuff, but what I'm really good at is what I like to stick to. And he said Louis Bellson and Al Blaine, the Wrecking Crew's drummer, Al Blaine there, were who he listened to. And Louis Bellson was really the first double bass drummer, for those people that didn't know that. A lot of jazz and stuff. And it also just lets you know that listening to this other music, because my mom listened to a lot of jazz and stuff like that as well, I learned different styles. When I was growing up, I'm 7 years old, 1970, so Zeppelin's big, and a lot of these rock bands are really big. I was listening to a lot of Alice Cooper, that first album that he did, Love It to Death. And, there's a big difference between that and Herb Alpert records or Frank Sinatra records or Buddy Rich records. But hearing all that music helped me with styles and even on the piano and things like that. He said that they were influenced also by the Beatles. They saw A Hard Day's Night, and the Dave Clark Five was a big band for them as well. I know Dave Clark Five is nowhere near in the league with the Beatles, but a song, Glad All Over, he mentioned in his book was something that him and Ed really, really liked, and that's what made them want to rock, and there was no turning back. Plus, the Dave Clark Five had the saxophone. Al could play the saxophone. Now, a lot of people did not know what Al's musical skills and abilities are, but he unveils that in his first chapter of his book. They learned a lot of surf rock stuff. They were working on Cream records. Al was always fascinated with the drums, but, he had to play the saxophone. They actually played the violin at one point. So really, and this is Al, not Ed. Okay, now Ed did all the stuff with Al. He said that they were inseparable because they couldn't speak the language, and as they were learning the English language, they really had nobody to pal around with but each other. But the bottom line was, from what I've gathered, is Alex Van Halen knows how to play the piano, the violin, the saxophone, the guitar, and, obviously the drums. So, his knowledge of music, a lot of people, he just played the drums. Eddie was the one that did all that stuff. Alex knew a lot more, because I didn't know Alex played the violin. Who knew that Alex had played the violin and the saxophone? I did not know that. They also mentioned the fact that when Ed learned the Alvin Lee song, I'm Going Home, note for note on the guitar, that's when they knew that he was going to be the guitar player, and there was no turning back on that situation. There was some other things that he mentioned as well, that his dad said this statement, and this is also a very important statement. And if you're a rock and roll fan, you know this to be true, but people don't think about it. I've known it for 30 years when someone taught me 30 years ago, and that people do not go to hear the band. They go to see the band. Think about your own statement if you went to a concert or you're talking about, a band you saw. If I said, yeah, man, I went to an AC/DC concert. Oh, yeah, I saw them. You didn't go, I heard them. You go, I saw them in such and such tour. I saw Pink Floyd. You don't go, I heard Pink Floyd. I saw Pink Floyd. I had a very interesting experience at a young age with something I didn't know anything about. You can Google this. This is a fact. I'm not going to sit here and spew out misinformation, but a long, long time ago, I went to Columbia High School, and I got to say this because this is important with my influences hooking up with Alex's. I went to Columbia High School. We moved to Georgia when I was very young, and I heard this noise, this band, this thing. I didn't know what it was. Well, we lived right behind the high school. I mean, virtually right behind it, like 3 houses, walk across the football field, boom, you're there. And at night, I'm out playing, and I hear this noise. Now, I follow my ears, because back then, parents were a little loose with the kids going out and about and stuff like that. And I end up going to the football field and sitting on the steps and listening to this band that I was, like, enthralled with. It's the most amazing thing. It's rock music. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Come to find out years later, I didn't even know this. It was the Allman Brothers playing at the Columbia High School prom. I heard all of them, the original Allman Brothers. We're talking 1970 Allman Brothers here. That was kind of crazy. And so it made me want to learn more stuff on the drums and do things like that. But I had that piano block. I couldn't, I'm playing on Baskin Robbins things, and I had it. Al said because their mom was so adamant about them on the piano, it was ironic that Van Halen's best-selling and biggest songs were Jump and Right Now. One from Hagar era, one from the Roth era. So let me ask you, the I Love Music Army, this question. What song do you think is better, Right Now or Jump? I really do like Jump, but if I had to pick between the two, I'm taking Right Now. Maybe because I heard Jump a lot more than I heard Right Now back in the day. But you never know. I want to hear from you. What did you have to say? Now, Alex Van Halen's book, we're going through this chapter by chapter. These are kind of the highlights of the first chapter. And I really want to know if you've read the book and what you thought about the first chapter. I don't want to go into anything past that because we're going to make a video about every chapter, because I think this is a very, very important and groundbreaking book from a man who has mostly been quiet through interviews the entire Van Halen career, where it's either been Ed, Sam, or Dave talking. Al and Michael never said much till now. And now we're learning, and I never knew, and did you know, that Alex played the violin and the saxophone? I never knew that. I knew Ed, played the keyboards, did the guitar. I didn't know maybe about the violin, but I think I might have known, but it was important. And in the meantime, we're going to get back to this thing. And we will see you next time for another video right here from the Sea Champagne Radio Show. Subscribe, like, join the I Love Music Army. Be a part of our internet musical global family of friends. I'll read your comment, probably comment on it. Until then, peace.